All right, 3 o'clock chat here. Our coverage starts at 3 with the Rip City Drive live from Moda Center. Blazers game day with Chris. Our coverage starts at 3 with the Rip City Drive live from Moda Center. Blazers game day with Chris Burkhardt at 5. And tip-off at 7 on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Coach Billups announced the starting lineup. Holiday, Sharp, Klingon with Avdia and Kamara. Jeremy Grant will come off the bench. Robert Williams will not be available tomorrow. Matisse Thybulle is TBD. All Trailblazer games streamed live on our free iHeartRadio app. It's a Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. I've got two pitches. Your chance to win the World Series is set. Game 1 Friday from Toronto. Dodgers and Blue Jays. First to win the World Series is set. Game 1 Friday from Toronto. Dodgers and Blue Jays. First pitch at 5 on Fox. It would have been Dodgers and Mariners if Dan Wilson didn't screw it up last night. And the Angels have hired Kurt Suzuki as their next manager. The Rip City Drive is coming up next.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's time for the Rip City Drive, hosted by the crazy and often irrational Chad Doing. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
1-0 pitch. Swing and a fly ball. Left field and deep. Arozarena turns. Gone! A Springer dinger. 4-3 Blue Jays in the bottom of the 7th. Full count, 2 outs, top of the 9th. Game 7 of the ALCS. Hoffman's payoff pitch. He got him! The Blue Jays win the pennant! The Blue Jays win the pennant! They're going to the World Series! It's so good, we must be dreaming! The Toronto Blue Jays come back, knock off the Mariners, and they will take on the LA Dodgers!
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
Left field and deep. Arozarena turns. Goal! Left field and deep. Arozarena turns. Gone! A Springer dinger. 4-3 Blue Jays in the bottom of the 7th.
Not even the great tones of Tina Turner can make the pain of that home run go away. From the cheater himself, George Springer. I mean, the guy's a douchebag. And he's the one guy that you know can kill you in that spot, Dan Wilson. I have a good idea. Let's pitch to him. I have a better idea. Let's not bring in Munoz in that spot. Are you freaking kidding me? I was over at Moda Center last night talking to the Trailblazer Booster Club. And I had been watching the game on my phone as I was making my way down to Moda Center and in my parking spot at Moda Center before I went in to talk to the Booster Club. And so when I got in there, I had been watching the game on my phone. I got up to speak to the group, and I probably spoke for about 10 to 15 minutes. That's it. 10 to 15 minutes, and I was thinking, man, the Mariners are up 3-1. They're 9 outs away. They're going to go to the freaking World Series. And then when I was done speaking to the group, I looked down at my phone. It's 4-3 Toronto. I'm like, what the heck happened? What flipping happened, man? And then I just did a little rewind and watched through the sequence, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, you've got to be freaking kidding me. Look, I don't like George Springer either, but he's the one guy, along with Vlad, in that lineup where you're like, he can kill you. That guy right there has done it time and time again, and you know he's got the capabilities to step up, even though he's faking it with the one knee or whatever. He's the one guy that can kill you. He's clutch, and you got to give him props for that. He is. He's proven it time and again. And, of course, the Mariners made the maneuver. They go to Bizzardo, and Springer rocked one out of the park. Game over. And we all knew it. As soon as that home run left the park, the Mariners were done. D-U-N, done. Done. And so it leaves you to wonder what the flip was manager Wilson doing in that spot. Why did you go to Bizzardo? Why not stick with Woo and walk Springer? Why not? Unbelievable. Here is a little exchange after the game with Dan Wilson.
Dan, you go into the bottom of the seventh. You're 9 outs away from the World Series. Things kind of went awry. Can you just walk us through all the pitching decisions there and what led into them?
Yeah, I mean, Brian was throwing the ball so well. First of all, George, I thought, threw the ball excellent, and then Brian picked up right where George left off, and gave us a good spot to be in, and after the walk, hoping to get the ground ball, which we did, but it just found a hole, and then knew Jimenez was going to bunt there, and Bizzardo's been the guy that's gotten us through those situations, those tight ones, especially in the pivot role, and that's where we were going at that point.
How much did you consider going to Munoz, and why did you like Bizzardo better than Munoz in that situation?
Well, I mean, I think like we said, Bizzardo's been doing it all season long and has been so consistent at it, and he's done such a good job all year, and we felt really comfortable with him out there, the way he's been throwing the ball, especially in this series, and it was a good spot for him.
Dan, just what was your message to the team after the game?
Just to hold up their heads, to understand what kind of a season they had. I mean, I know this stings, and there's no question that it's going to sting. But the kind of season they had, doing things that no team in this organization has ever done, and knocking on the door of a World Series. All that, it's due to how hard they've worked, how hard they've played all season long, all the times they've come back, all the times they've bounced back. It's a special team in there, and it's just it's a shame we had to come out on the wrong side of this one.
Yeah, it's a shame, but it didn't have to be that way, Wilson. And that's really what it comes down to. I think Dan Wilson screwed it up. He should have gone to Munoz, who had not given up a hit so far in the postseason. He had been untouchable. You should have gone to Munoz, or maybe considered walking Springer. I understand the risk involved, but if you walk him, he's not going to be able to kill you like he killed you. And that's the bottom line. You don't need to pitch to that guy. Bring in Munoz. I don't understand. And it's unfortunate because Mariner fans had their hearts ripped out last night. The game started out perfectly. You got Julio to step up. They had some guys who were getting some big hits in some big moments. The defense was good. They had good pitching up to that point. They had done all the little things you need to do to be able to win a Game 7 on the road. And you're up 3-1 after the big home run from Cal. All you have to do is not screw it up. And he made the wrong choice. And I point the finger at Wilson for that situation. And it's frustrating. And here's the worst part about sports, and Mariner fans know this as well as anybody, there's no guarantee they're going to get back to that point and have a chance to right the wrongs of the past. You never know. Nothing is guaranteed. You don't know if you're going to get back there. You don't know if you're going to get another look like that. They've got a good roster with some talent, but there's no guarantees. And everything was right there for the taking last night to have a chance to go to their very first World Series. And you lose it when you're 9 outs away from getting to the World Series for the very first time. It's awful. And after the game, Cal Raleigh, as you might imagine, upset.
I hate to use the word failure, but it's a failure. And that's what we expected, was to get to a World Series, win a World Series, and that's, what the bar is and the standard is, and, it's what we want to hold ourselves accountable to. But, it hurts.
It does. And really, there are no moral victories here for the Mariners. I understand it's the first time they've been able to get any type of sniff like that since 2001. But this team was put together the right way. They were as talented as any team, especially in the American League. They should have been there. They should have won that game last night. They should have been there. And that was just a poor decision by the manager. It's no two ways around it. He screwed up. Walk Springer, bring in Munoz. Or at least just bring in Munoz. You know, Bizzardo was like, what, their fourth best reliever? So it was very unfortunate. I thought the night was proceeding perfectly, and then all of a sudden Springer hits that home run. And it couldn't have happened to a worse guy, Springer. It's just annoying. It's really annoying, and that's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth for a long time. Mariner fans will probably never get over that one. Horrible. The only way they can get past that is for the team to somehow miraculously bounce back and win a championship. And that's going to be tough to do. So now I pull for the Dodgers. I would imagine Mariner fans will be pulling for the Dodgers to annihilate the Blue Jays to help you feel somewhat better. I mean, it's the worst. Absolutely the worst. And our friends up in Seattle like Dave Softy Mahler, not having a good day. Not even close to having a good day. In fact, it's a very bad day. Softy left the app last night, got off of X, and was like, I need to go spend time with family. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And he has really been on one today. And I think this is the, real-time processing as you go through what went down because it was so bad and so painful. Here's what Softy had to say. I think this is Mariner fan in a nutshell. Growing up in Seattle, the big four for me were all about the Seahawks, Sonics, Huskies, and Mariners. The one thing that I really, really wanted above anything else, the one thing we've been chasing the longest was right there in front of our face. For a split second, I allowed myself to think that it was actually happening. And then in a split second later, it was gone. Maybe I'll feel different down the road, but right now, this hurts worse than anything I've ever been through as a sports fan. Heartbroken, man. GD heartbroken. All in a split second. 1 second, you're like, dude, we're going to the World Series. The next second, Bizzardo's pitching to George Springer.
1-0 pitch. Swing and a fly ball. Left field and deep. Rosarena turns. Gone! A Springer dinger. 4-3 Blue Jays in the bottom of the seventh.
Just brutal. Coming up on the show today, here in a few minutes, I'm going to be joined by Pete Futek of College Football News. He is absolutely one of my. We take a look at the landscape in college football. My good friend Colin Amos from the Law Off, take a look at the landscape in college football. My good friend Colin Amos from the law offices of Goldberg Jones will stop by at 4:20 to answer your questions. And then Casey Holdaw of your Portland Trailblazers is going to join us at 5:20. Now, today, I have not one but two pairs of tickets for the Warriors game on Friday. So it's time to butter me up. If you want to get tickets for the Warriors, you have to listen to me for your chance to win. I also have a pair of tickets for Adam Sandler, who's going to be at Motor Center on October 28th. So not one, not two, but three pairs of tickets to give away. Two for the Warriors and Blazers on Friday, one for Adam Sandler on October 28th. So we have a good day in store for you as we are now 1 day away from the season opener for your Portland Trailblazers. Chauncey Billups has announced the starting lineup. We'll get to all of that. We'll hear from Mike McDaniel, who did some high-level cracking on his quarterback, Tua. And I want to hear from you, 503-248-0620. Pete Futek, College Football News, is coming up next. We'll ask him who the best team in the country is. Are the Ducks still in fine position after the loss to Indiana? And what about some of the job openings that are now there? Who are the likely candidates to fill them? We'll discuss that next on the Rip City Drive. All right, my one-stop shop for college football is collegefootballnews.com, and it's because of this man right here who is back on the show, Pete Futek. Pete, good afternoon. Thanks for coming back on the show.
We're entering the danger zone. So I finally saw Top Gun Maverick, by the way.
Oh, did you like it?
Yeah, it was great. I'm a person of a certain age to have seen the original, and it was a massive part of my life. But the problem is, for the storyline to work with the whole Goose Kid would have to be like 48 years old.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. But here's the great part about being me, Pete, is that I don't think too much about those details. I just try to sit back and enjoy it. But that was a very good pull by you because, yes, I noticed that as well. The age didn't really match up based on the time frame of the original movie.
Or speaking of pull, the Tom Cruise face, like just a little too tight.
A little too tight.
But other than that, it was fine.
Yeah, it was good action. And, my dad still loves those type of movies in the theater because of the sound and everything with the Jets. It was a lot of fun. I've got to ask you about Kurt Signetti coming out the win over Oregon. I mean, Indiana looks great, but Pete, you got to help me understand this. How did he get this turned around so quickly at Indiana? Because if you look at their resources and what they have, I don't see any major changes there. Maybe there is something there, but I think this is mostly on Signetti just being a great coach and being able to develop talent. How's he done it?
He's a different sort of dude, and you have to have it. He's kind of like Brian Bellick, except even more arrogant, if that's even possible. So like he's just one of those guys, and he has won everywhere.
Yeah,
and he's again. There are certain coaches where you don't get to this level unless when you make your first stop in D3 somewhere or somewhere where you win all your games, you keep on moving up and up and up. But he really did not not have a blip ever on that resume. I mean, he's like a career 84% winning percentage or something insane like that. And it kind of worked right away too because remember James Madison was really good. He spent a few years building up James Madison with real guys into the system who fit. And then, remember when James Madison first came up to the FBS level, they were like number 1 or 2 in run defense. And, they just had a different scheme, a different system that kept working. And he brought 16 guys from James Madison over to Indiana. So they had an okay base of players to work off of. And then they brought those guys in. And then he just finds the smart right quarterback. Curtis Rourke last year from Ohio, Fernando Mendoza this year from Cal, and the system just sort of clicks and works. There are no mistakes. They don't turn the ball over. Everything is executed perfectly, and it's just somehow it all sort of works because talent-wise, like you said, they're not better than Oregon. They're not better than Ohio State. Right now, they're the number 2 team in the country.
All right, so I'm happy that Indiana was able to, lock him up and keep him there long term. I think that's great. It's a great story in college football. But is he going to be able to sustain this type of success at Indiana?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, look, again, speaking of age, I mean, I was there when the Barry Alvarez era took over at Wisconsin. So, I mean, my first 3 years at Wisconsin, the Badgers won 4 games or something crazy like that. It was the worst program in the country, but it took a 1-10 season for Alvarez to, the trash can practices where he ran everyone until they barfed. And he's like, well, if you don't like it, quit. I don't care. We're going to lose no matter what. So that was kind of his attitude, and he turned it around, but it took a couple of years. I don't know if he can maintain this sort of success, but he's obviously stable there, and maybe he gets a different caliber of player who comes in. But at the very least, they've got a guy, and at least Indiana football is relevant. But it can happen. I mean, Bill Snyder turned around Kansas State. Again, Alvarez with Wisconsin. There is some sustainable thing there. I don't know if it's high-end enough to win a national championship or really even seriously be in that mix, but we're about to find out.
What did you think about the Ducks' response after the loss to Indiana, roughing up Rutgers?
Great. You fly across the country and do that. But, I mean, this is, the continued thing with Oregon is like, okay, they're good enough just to get close. And it's obviously an elite of the elite program. And Dan Lanning's, fantastic. And, this team can still win the national championship. And if anything, the weird part about all this is that loss to Indiana could turn out to be a break because the worst thing to do is actually, it's actually better to get the time off to play your opening game of the college football playoff, probably at home, assuming that Oregon goes 11-1, than it is to play the Big Ten championship. And especially if you lose, then that means you have a whole extra game. Now, it didn't matter last year for Penn State; they still got to the Final Four. But still, it's you want to have that time off. But okay, let's see what you can do next. I mean, it was way too close of a call against Penn State. It turned out to be, not that great a team. And to lose to Indiana, no, let's see what they can do the rest of the way to keep beating everyone else up.
All right, I want to talk to you about Arizona State. I'm a big fan of Kenny Dillingham and the work he's doing there with the Sun Devils. I thought the win over Texas Tech was impressive because they had just gotten blown out by Utah. They ramped up the intensity in practices based on what I can gather, and they come out with a great defensive performance. Special teams almost loses it for them, but the Stars and Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson led them down the field to get the score. What did you think about that game?
I mean, they also didn't have Levitt against Utah. So, I mean,
Yes.
It's every game, unless you're playing the free space games against Oklahoma State and West Virginia and kind of to a lesser extent maybe Colorado.
Yeah.
Everyone else can beat everyone else except for Texas Tech. Texas Tech is going to go 12-1. It's going to win the Big 12 title, probably. But everyone else is kind of in the mix. I mean, Kansas State's rising back up. I mean, BYU is still undefeated. Houston, has figured something out. Cincinnati has figured something out. So, like, every team in this league on the right day. So all you need is, like, the wrong blip. As it turned out, the wrong blip was not having Sam Levitt under center against Utah. But it's a strong team. Obviously, Dillingham's doing a great job. I was more impressed, actually, by Texas Tech with its backup quarterback and just fighting back. I mean, they couldn't get anything going, and then they kind of gut-checked it late and came very, very close. And, we'll see if they get Baron Morton back pretty soon. But as is, the whole NIL world is the best team money can buy right now, and that's how the world's supposed to work at this point.
Yeah, and Texas Tech spent as much as anyone, which is pretty impressive. Now, there are some job openings across the country. Let's start with Penn State. How do you think they'll go about their coaching search, and who are one or two guys that you think are prime candidates for that gig?
You know what? It's so weird. There's no handle on it because part of the problem is the best coaching candidate for that job is James Franklin. And so, like, where do you go? I mean, because obviously you're not getting Lane Kiffin, and you're not going to break the bank for him because he's probably going to go to Florida if not wait for something else. And Cignetti's locked up. So, like, short of Nick Saban, who's the name that's going to make the fan base think, like, oh, yeah, this is the guy? Because remember, for all of Franklin's problems and detractors, before he got whacked, there's only one other coach who was at a spot as long as he was and won 70% or more of their games. That was Dabo. So it's okay, fine. So James Franklin didn't win a lot of the big ones, but he won everything else. I mean, winning 70% is really hard. And last year, his team was in the Final Four, the College Football Playoff Final Four, there, but for one defensive stop against Oregon, the team's probably number one in the country, and then who knows what happens after that. And if there was a defensive stop late against UCLA or Northwestern, he's still probably the head coach. So where are you going to find this magical guy who's going to be that much better? And you never know until you get any coach. Any coaching name sounds right if you sell it hard enough. And so you never quite know until they get in the building. But, like, if it's Matt Rule who's coming out there and saying, hey, I'm back here, or if it's Manny Diaz, I don't think Penn State fans are going to be, like, doing jumping jacks quite yet.
Yeah, that makes sense. So do you think Lane Kiffin will be an obvious target for Florida then?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just the thing about Ole Miss that it kind of gets forgotten is it's not that big of a program. I mean, it's over the years, you think the Mannings and, it's the SEC and all that kind of stuff. But that's not a winning tradition program. It does not have the money or the resources. I mean, I think it's operating revenue budget's like 170-ish million. By comparison, Texas is like 330 million.
Wow.
Everyone else is around 200 plus. So it's just not as big of a program. He doesn't have the guys. But if Cignetti's the number one coach going right now, Kiffin's 1B. I mean, he's just that good with what he's able to do with his schemes. Florida's a tough gig. I mean, because the part of the problem is, look what happened to Napier. Obviously, there are a lot of problems, but all the losses were to teams over the last year and a half. Every single one of the losses was either to a team that was in the college football playoff, is going to the college football playoff this year, or is at least really close to it. So it's not like, you got to win more of those games at Florida, but with their schedules, I mean, he lost to a lot of really awesome teams, and whoever takes that job is not going to get that leeway. And for whatever reason, in the post-Urban era, it's really, really hard to win consistently there.
Hey, Pete, what do you make of Alabama now? They lose that opener to Florida State, but now they've got 4 consecutive wins against ranked opponents. It seems like they've figured things out there. What's your read on what they've been doing of late?
It's more of an overall thing. I don't think the SEC is that good. I mean, obviously the Florida State loss was a blip, but I kind of think that the Big Ten, at least at the very top, I'm still buying into Oregon, even though they were too shaky against Penn State and obviously lost to Indiana. But I think Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, they're playing better. I mean, yes, Michigan lost to Oklahoma, and there's a lot of other, the rest of the Big Ten's just kind of right now. But the teams at the top really are the killers. I just think everyone in the SEC is just sort of okay but flawed. So, Alabama's good. Obviously it's really good. I think they're going to run the table. They'll be 12-1 in the SEC champion, and they'll get the number 3 seed. But I'm not sold that Georgia there's something missing with Georgia. Either I know they're young, but whatever. So is everybody. They went to that other gear against Ole Miss. Ole Miss punched itself out in that game. I think Ole Miss can do some damage if it gets in, but I don't think it can win the whole thing. Georgia again is kind of flawed. Texas is really flawed. Texas A&M, it's okay, but they're starting to get a little shaky. So the SEC is pretty much dominating the rankings, but I don't know if they're that overall great in terms of being like the high-end top 5-ish kind of teams.
You know what I'm wondering with Texas, and I saw that game against Kentucky, clearly their offense is off, and Arch Manning is continuing to go through his struggles. Do you think Steve Sarkisian anticipated that, or are they surprised by the lack of production from Manning thus far?
I think they're surprised. I also think he's insanely overcoached. I think it happens with a lot of these guys. I also want to say it's the DJ Uiagaleleiing of coaches now, where you get these guys who have all the talent in the world, and it's just beaten into their heads. Don't screw up. Don't screw up. Don't screw up. Make this read. Make this read. Don't screw up. Instead of being like, hey, we got one of the best defenses in the country, let it rip, and our defense will bail you out. And so these guys are just looking for their read, looking for this, and it's like their processing is just too slow. That'll come. I mean, you just need 1,000 at bats, and then all of a sudden everything starts to slow down for you if you're Arch. I mean, he's only half a year into this, so he's got all the tools and talent. But you can see it. Like, when do quarterbacks play their best? It's always in the 2-minute drill at the end. I know there's the prevent and all that, but when they just when they have nothing to lose and they have to just go out there and fire one read, go. These guys are at their best. What there's a problem is when they have to think too much. That becomes a problem, especially for young college kids. So it'll come. It'll probably be next year. But boy, this offense really does sputter too much.
Pete, there's a local connection here with Jonathan Smith, former Beaver coach who's now at Michigan State. If they get worked by Michigan this weekend, I mean, is Jonathan Smith's job in jeopardy there?
I don't know quite yet. I mean, we talk about these big monster schools and finances. Michigan State's a little bit of a different animal because it does have the money. The NIL mostly goes to the basketball side, but they do have NIL money. But it's just it's a different sort of thing where I don't think they want to cut with him yet. There have been injury problems. But the lines just are awful for Michigan State. The defense is not nearly good enough. I think they probably win only 3 games this year. I mean, they're going to struggle the rest of the way. I do think they get housed by Michigan, but I think he gets one more year to kind of turn this thing around. But it has not been pretty so far.
Pete, I don't know if you have an answer on this, but do you have any idea of what type of money TV payout the new Pac-12 will be looking for? Are we going to be seeing dollars similar to what the Mountain West was getting? What do you anticipate there?
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be some sort of a deal where they'll be able to do something with it. But it's so minuscule compared to what the Big Ten's going to do. And everyone's kind of says, oh well, the Power 4 conferences. No, it's the Power 1. It's and this is partially why I think to a certain extent The SEC's a little bit falling behind. Again, they have like 9 teams in the top 20, so I mean they're actually doing all right. But like it eventually someone's going to figure out that Alabama's making less than Purdue, when it comes to TV money. I mean, especially if you're talking about this $2 billion hedge fund thing that might be kicking in. I know there's a lot of different parts to that, including me not actually knowing what that means, but it just seems like a lot of money. So all these Big Ten teams are already getting paid as is, and it's only going to get a lot more. And when the trickle-down effect comes, what does it do for you to get, San Diego State's fine. I'm surprised the Big 12 didn't do that just to get somewhere in Southern California. I don't know if Boise State moves the national needle at all. So they got teams, but it's just an extension of the Mountain West. And I am still shocked that the Pac-12 does not have UNLV, which means that UNLV is waiting for the call from the Big 12 because I don't know how you don't have that place locked up when everyone wants every event possible in that city.
Oh, and Dan Mullen's doing a heck of a job with that group this year. That's been fun to watch. One more question for you, because I always like to know what's going through your mind. This weekend on tap, what game do you think is the most important or at least the most interesting to you? Is it Ole Miss and Oklahoma, Alabama, South Carolina, BYU and Iowa State, or is it
keep going.
Texas and Mississippi State? Like, I don't see the game. Like, what do you think is the most intriguing game on tap this weekend?
It ain't there. It's and I always say this, and I was like, "Oh, this weekend stinks," and all of a sudden, then Penn State loses to UCLA. So but which kind of goes to the thing where I've got a column about to go up right now. It's not going to happen. But what if UCLA beats Indiana? I mean, so intriguing-wise, I don't think it'll happen. But let's say if UCLA were to keep winning, if this is actually for real, if they beat Indiana, like let's say some miracle happens, they still get a trip to Ohio State and a trip to USC. If they win out by, again, not going to happen, but if they go like 8-4 with these 3 wins, all of a sudden – if you're the college football, first of all, they go to the Big Ten championship. And then second, if you're the college football playoff committee and that happened and they're 8-4 and you're like, no, they're not in. But like they just won after Tim Skipper takes over. They got the best wins in the country with at Ohio State and at Indiana and at USC. And they ruined the Penn State football program. Like, how do you not at least think of it? So at least it would be intriguing if they were to do it. But so I'm a little bit curious to see what they're going to do against the Hoosiers.
Well, you know what's been fun? I think you and I talked about this last year. The one thing that the expanded playoff has brought is I love this intrigue week to week with more teams and more fan bases having interest because they have some sort of access to the playoff. I think that's been cool.
Yeah, it's far better. They've got it right, and at least for now, as close as they can get. They'll screw it up, but you're right. I mean, the only way it can be better is if they use their brains a little more and not put in the SMUs of the world and actually look at the schedules and teams look at Oklahoma's last remaining games. They play every team they play is in the AP top 20. And so even if they go 9-3, they're going to be left out for a Georgia Tech who hasn't played a ranked team yet. So if they use their brains a little more, it'll be better. But you're right. Look up your way a little bit there. At least down the road a bit. Cal, if they win at Virginia Tech, look at the rest of their schedule. It's not insane if they beat Virginia at home that they could go 10-2. They got housed by San Diego State and they'd probably be left out, but that's a team that could get to 10 wins, and you get to 10 wins, you at least get by the bouncer to get, to the bar at the club, if maybe not the VIP lounge, but you can at least get in there.
It's crazy. Back when you and I were going to watch the original Top Gun in theaters, they were actually having voters and coaches determine who would play in the national championship. And then there were times where those teams couldn't meet up because of the bowl alliances. That's what's crazy. And now we finally at least get the playoff, which is great. I've been waiting for this my whole life, so I'm going to sit back and enjoy it for the time I have.
There you go. I mean, it actually makes a little more sense. You can actually settle it more on the field, not have to not go to the pole and bowl situation.
All right, you got to read him. CollegeFootballNews.com. It is the one-stop shop for college football fans. It's awesome. Pete Futek is the man behind it. Pete, thank you for carving out some time for me, man. Keep up the good work, buddy.
Have a great night.
Gosh, love talking with him. Oh, okay. See that? You focus on other sports. It helps you get over the fact that Dan Wilson didn't put in Munoz last night. Now, this would be Loverboy. Yeah, thank you. This is Turn Me Loose. Turn It Loose, Turn Me Loose.
Turn Me Loose. They were performing in your neighborhood last year, opening for Sammy Hagar.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what this band likes to focus their music on.
Singer still has the pipes.
He does. I saw them on American Bandstand back in the day. I was like, whoa. Give me some volume on this. I think this is a Canadian rock group too, aren't they? Yeah, they're from Canada. All right, 503-248-0620. Colin Amos going to be in studio at 4:20. Casey Holdaw stops by at 5:20. And it is Rip City Liquidators today. We have tickets for Adam Sandler and 2 pairs for the Warriors and Trailblazers coming up on Friday from Moda Center to give away. We'll do that on the show today. You just have to listen to me for your cue, your chance to win here on the Rip City Drive. Oh, no way at all. I don't know why, but this song goes to my mind when I see Jackson Dart's mom. I don't know why, but this song goes to my mind when I see Jackson Dart's mom. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. All right, I want to share this with you. I'll wait on it. Mike McDaniel, I think, purposely threw Tua under the bus, which is pretty funny to me. He did that, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But it's the one time where I'm like, whoa, he's got some balls. I have some respect for Mike McDaniel, head coach of the Dolphins, who, by the way, are just a brutal football team. There's so many bad football teams. And the slate of NFL games, there's a couple of good ones this weekend, but the slate overall for the upcoming week in the NFL is a little bit kind of nasty. It's a dirty, ugly kind of weekend. And Thursday Night Football, on paper, good game. Vikings at the Chargers. And then you do some further investigation. You're like, wait a second. Carson Wentz? Or is it going to be J.J. McCarthy? Either way, you know the offense is going to be less than what Coach O'Connell wants. And then the Chargers right now, after a hot start, look awful. Their offense is beat up by injury. Their offensive line is in tatters. Justin Herbert is out there running for his life, and then when he does have time, he's been turning it over. And the defense looked like they just quit against the Colts last weekend. It's like, Harbaugh, what are you doing, man? You got to tell your guys to step their game up. They got their butts kicked at the hands of the Colts, who are on fire. So I'm not sure what to make of that game. I would lean Chargers, but coming off that game against the Colts. And they're just, just beat up by injury. And then you got the Dolphins at 1-6 heading to the Falcons, who are coming off the Sunday night loss at San Francisco. Like the Dolphins, week by week, I just feel like Mike McDaniel's on the clock. Like he's just waiting for someone to take him out back and put an end to his coaching career. Put him out of his misery. I mean, that team is a disaster. And that game at the Browns was awful. Tua was a disaster. They just couldn't do anything. And then you have the Browns, who couldn't throw the football with Dylan Gabriel, but it didn't matter. They ran the football, created turnovers because of the Dolphins' poor offense, and won the game. I mean, Tua was really bad. Jets at the Bengals, awful. And the Jets at 0-7 are a disaster. And now you've got the owner coming out showing support for his coach, Aaron Glenn, and throwing Justin Fields under the bus, who's terrible. The Jets are a mess. Worst team in football. There are contenders for that crown, but right now the Jets take it. If you go from top down, owner, all the way down to the very bottom, the Jets are a joke. And they're putting on a product right now that's laughable. They should be ashamed of themselves for the product they're putting out there on the field, coming off the two horrendous losses to Denver and London when they couldn't do anything, and Justin Fields was sacked 9 times, and then they couldn't do anything on offense again. Quarterback benched, and they lose to Carolina. Giants at the Eagles. Now, the Eagles did rebound after a couple of losses and won at Minnesota last week. Jalen Hurts was nice. But that team is still looking for their groove, and they, too, like the Chargers, suffering from injuries on both sides of the ball. But you know the Eagles are going to figure it out because at least they have an identity and know who they are. Bills at the Panthers, somewhat intriguing. Bears at the Ravens. This, I believe, is the get-right spot for the Ravens, who have struggled mightily because of injury. They're going to get Lamar back. I would expect him to be close to 100%. And as you know, most NFC teams, when they're facing Lamar the first time, they get clowned. He doesn't lose often to NFC teams. He's nearly flawless against them. And so I would expect the Ravens to win and probably win this game big. 49ers at the Texans. Love this spot for Houston. I think the Texans take out the 49ers this weekend. That's an early kick on Fox, 10 a.m. I respect Kyle Shanahan. I mean, he's one heck of a coach, and he's got like a big pile of duct tape. He just continues to piece his team together with all the injuries they've suffered, but I think they're going to lose to Houston. I think the Cowboys get worked by the Broncos in Denver this weekend. Even the Broncos offense, which is struggling right now, will be able to move the. I don't really need to mention the 1-6 Titans at the 6-1 Colts. I don't really need to mention the 1-6 Titans at the 6-1 Colts. We know who's going to win that game. The Titans are right there with the Jets, worst team in football. Offense is bad. Defense is bad. They just fired their head coach. They're a joke. I don't think Mike McCoy is going to be the savior there. And Monday Night Football, the Commanders, their defense looks slow, and their offense is beat up, and their quarterback's not 100%. They're done. Good luck with that as the Chiefs continue to get red hot right now at 4-3. All right, we'll keep things rolling here. We'll give away a pair of tickets either to the Blazer game coming up on Friday against the Warriors or Adam Sandler. I will decide which, and we'll do that next on the Rip City Drive, and then we'll be joined by Cullen Amos from 1-800-DIVORCE coming up at 4:20. Casey Holdaw stops by at 5:20 here on the Rip City Drive. All right, it's 4 o'clock. How you doing, my friends? Chad here. The Trailblazers going to open up their season tomorrow. They host the Timberwolves. Tip-off at 7 from Moda. Our coverage will start at 3 with the Rip City Drive live from Moda Center. Blazers game day with Chris Burkhardt at 5, tip at 7. Here on 620 Rip City Radio, your home of Portland Trailblazer basketball. All games streamed live on our free iHeartRadio app. Coach Billups announced the starting lineup. Holiday, Sharp, Klingon, along with Denny Avdia and Tamani Kamara. Jeremy Grant will come off the bench. Robert Williams not available tomorrow. Matisse Thybulle is TBD. All Trailblazer games stream live on our app. And, of course, today's a Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. I've got 2 pairs of tickets to give away for Friday's game against Steph Curry and the Warriors. Listen to me for your chance to win. We're going to do a pair coming up here in a couple of moments. World Series Game 1 is set Friday from Toronto, Dodgers and Blue Jays. First pitch at 5 on Fox. And the Angels have hired Kurt Suzuki as their next manager. All right, this is Billy Idol. What's the title of this song? Playing with Myself? Oh, Dancing with Myself, which is the same thing. There was like a group of songs from the 80s that came out with masturbatory overtones. This would be one of them. And I think She Bop by Cyndi Lauper might be another. And what was that one song by the Divinals that you pull out once in a while?
Touch Myself.
Oh, yeah. Well, at age 50, I just take whatever I can get. And if that's Billy Idol's route, whatever. All right, it's time to play a little Name That Tune. I could make it easy and just give out a phone number, but let's have a little fun with this. I got a pair of tickets. This is a good one, too, by the way. Coming up at Moda Center on Friday. You won't have to dance with yourself because you're going to be at Moda Center hanging out with Steph Curry, the Warriors, and the Portland Trailblazers in their second game of the year. We're going to play Name That Tune. You know how this works. I'm going to play a snippet of a song, and the first person with the correct answer to 503-248-0620 will get a pair of tickets for the Warriors and Trailblazers. I need the artist and the title of the song. Anything less than that is unacceptable, all right? 503-248-0620. First person with the correct answer, pair of tickets for the Warriors and Trailblazers. Name and artist of this song right here. 503-248-0620. Call now. I want to hear from a Trailblazer fan. 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. 503-248-0620. It's a great song. 503-248-0620. Call now. First person with the correct answer gets to come on and play a little Name That Tune with me. Title and artist of the song, 503-248-0620. And if you don't win this time around, I've got another pair of tickets for the game, which will be coming up on Friday. 503-248-0620. Okay, let's go out to the phones right now. It's Craig, spelled with a K. Craig, welcome to the Rip City Drive, my friend. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Are you ready to try and win some tickets for the Warriors and Trailblazers on Friday?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, take a listen to this clip right here, Craig. What's the name and artist of that song?
Mr. Broken Wings.
Let's take a listen to the tape. Yeah. All right, Craig, you did it, buddy. Mr. Broken Wings, you've got a pair of tickets for the Warriors and Trailblazers coming up on Friday.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
All right, nice work, my friend. Where are you at right now? Are you at work or are you just out there bumping around?
Just bumping around.
Nice. All right, I'm going to put you on hold. Shacker, why don't you put Mr. Craig on hold? You can get his information. There you go. Craig is set. He's dialed in. Okay, so the rest of the show, here's how it's going to work. We have tickets for Adam Sandler. He's going to be at Moda Center on the 28th in his one-man show. And then we've got a pair of tickets for the Warriors and Trailblazers, another pair, a second pair for the game on Friday. And don't forget, every Tuesday, we're going to do it throughout the course of the basketball season. It's courtesy of me and your Portland Trailblazers. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday, we're going to give out tickets to every single game. So your place to listen and win is right here because I want to take care of you. I'm a man of the people, and I want to make sure you get a chance to go to some games because, as we pointed out in life, there's certain things. Golf is great. Free golf is better. Sporting events are awesome, but free sporting events are even better than that. What more could you ask for? All right, I want to go through my expectations for the Trailblazers season. I want to go on record right now so that you know where I stand with the Trailblazers this year. I also put up a post with a little video on Facebook, Instagram, and X. So if you want to check that out, you can. But I've gone through and I've had enough time to kind of put my thoughts together, what I expect for this team, expectations and predictions for your Portland Trailblazers. And this is where I'm at. And this is what I expect. So number one for the Trailblazers for the 2025-26 season, I have them at 45 wins. Now, I don't know what 45 wins is going to net you in the Western Conference because it's such a deep conference with so many good teams. But 45 wins, I think, is a healthy number. I think it's something they can accomplish. I think they will accomplish that. And then we'll see where that places them at the end of the year. Now, the Vegas win total for the Blazers, depending on which book you look at, is somewhere between 32.5 and 35.5. I don't really care where you get the number. Pound the over. This team's being undervalued right now. And I think as the season begins and you start to get a look at a lot of the young talent and guys that people around the league just don't know or aren't as aware of yet, especially with the addition of Drew Holiday, they're going to start to take notice right away that this team's going to play good basketball this year. So pound the over. I've got the Blazers at 45 wins. Love that. The other key, and this plays into them getting to 45 wins, they're going to be a top 5 to top 10 defense throughout the entire season. Now, they were top 5 in the second half of last year, which produced a 23-18 record. But the difference this year is that they're going to be a better defensive team to start. And I think you're going to see that throughout the course of the year. And now with the roster they have and the versatility and the continuity coming back with the team and the coaching staff, you'll start to get a real good feel for how Chauncey Billups wants to play basketball. He's got his type of guys on the squad now. They're going to be a good defensive team, and that defense is going to generate opportunities for them, both in points and in wins, which is terrific. I expect Tamani Kamara to be a first-team all-defensive player in the NBA. He's that special, one of the best on-ball defenders in the league. He's continuing to grow and develop. He's got great length, great athleticism, and he's a dog. He's relentless in his approach, and he cares a lot about getting better on both ends. I respect the heck out of him, and he takes pride in his defense and how people view him, and he doesn't jack around on that end of the floor. I think Shaedon Sharpe is going to emerge as the team's number one option on offense. He's got the highest ceiling of all the young guys. He can score at all three levels. The key for him is just remaining engaged at a really high level with his intensity on both ends. If he does that, he's going to be fine. Now, we got word from Coach Billups today that he would be starting. Not a surprise. He had a great preseason. I think this is the year where he emerges completely, but develops into the number one option for this team. And the good thing is the guys know how good he is and what he's capable of, and they're going to have no issues deferring to him, especially on the nights when he's got it going. The team MVP, it's a no-brainer. It's Deni Avdija. He is probably their most complete player. He can defend multiple spots. He plays with reckless abandon. He's a good teammate. He works his ass off. He can facilitate the offense. He can shoot the three. He just does a lot of things well, and he's kind of the key cog when it comes to pushing the tempo. And the great thing for him is he's landed in a spot here in Portland where the coach gives him unlimited freedom to create and to be himself. Now, does he need to cut down on turnovers and be more secure with the balls? Yes. But he's capable. I think he's a team MVP. really a big fan of Denny Avdi and what he brings to the table. Now, when it comes to young Hansen, I don't have any expectations. I'm taking the long approach with Hansen. I don't expect great things from him this year as he adjusts from the Chinese basketball league to the NBA. He's going to face fives and fours that just move differently than anything he's accustomed to. The officials are going to drive him mad because he's going to have to adjust to how they call the game, and he's going to get himself into a lot of foul trouble this year. It's going to be a struggle. He'll get a chance to play. He'll show some flashes, but it's not going to be an easy transition for him. So I think I'm taking a long approach with Hansen. He's a project. He's got some definite skill that can translate, but it's going to take time. So show patience with Hansen, understanding the transition he's going through. And I haven't even mentioned the language barrier. I think we'll know a lot more about Hansen 2 to 3 years from now. And the other big key point is I think the defense is going to carry the team early as they learn and adjust to the new offensive system. Really excited about what Tiago Splitter's bringing to the squad defensively, but it will take time. It's going to take time to adjust. It's going to take time for the guys to understand exactly where they need to be and how they need to operate, but it's going to allow them to play fast. And I think it's going to play right into the hands of Scoot Henderson when he comes back so he can play fast and be able to create and make decisions and get his teammates involved. So there you have it. That is my expectations and my predictions for the year. 45 wins, top 5 to top 10 defensive team throughout the season. Kamara, a first-team all-defensive player. Sharp will emerge as the team's number one option. Their MVP is Denny Avdia. I'm taking the patient approach with Hansen. We'll find more about him in 2 to 3 years. I forgot to mention Drew Holiday is going to be an impact player for this team on both ends, and he's going to help them win games right now. And early in the season, probably the first couple of months, they'll be carried by their defense, not their offense, as they adjust to this new system involving Tiago Splitter. So there you have it. Now, tomorrow, I'll be over at Moda Center for the Rip City Drive from 3 until 5. Chris Burkhart will take over with Blazers Game Day, which runs 2 hours before every tip-off. He'll be live from Moda 5 to 6. I'll have the network pregame show at 6, and then tip-off at 7 with Travis Demers and Michael Holton. And following the season opener tomorrow night, the fifth quarter, after the Trailblazers broadcast here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All games stream live on our free iHeartRadio app, so you can listen on the go. We'll have Trailblazer Ticket Me, and then we have additional programming with Courtside Monday with Chris Burkhart, and then we have additional programming with Courtside Monday with Chris Burkhart, the Trailblazer Insider with Sean Hyken, Blazer Wrap-Up with Brendan Slaughter, and then we have our Trailblazer podcast, which will air live on 620 Rip City Radio with Section 113 with Travis and myself, Blazers Balcony involving Casey Holdaw and Brooke Olzendam, and The Briefcase with Casey Holdaw. We are your one-stop shop for Trailblazer basketball with the best coverage here in town. All right, when we come back, Colin Amos, my good friend from the law offices of Goldberg Jones 1-800-DIVORCE, is going to be in studio to answer your questions here on the Rip City Drive. All right, very happy to welcome my good friend. I feel like everyone I know right now is getting divorced, so I just point them your direction. Under divorce. I feel like everyone I know right now is getting divorced, so I just point them your direction, buddy.
I'm happy to be there for them. I feel bad for your friend network, but you're in that age where, yep, it's time. It's time to go forward.
What do you find? Because I one of my buddies, Josh, who've spoken with, he's, fresh into this divorce, and it's kind of rough right now because tensions are still high on both sides. But I've just told him, like, hey, all I can tell you from my experience, it was the same thing, but it gets better with time, right? In most cases, it gets better with time.
Yeah. I suppose there are those people that really lament that it is a tough time in life, and I certainly am sensitive to that. I always look at the positive side. You're not getting divorced generally because everything was so wonderful and you're getting along so well.
Yeah.
But people do like dysfunction and they gravitate towards it. I'm the opposite. I'm like, okay, if it's not working, let's stop banging our head against the wall. There's a lot of opportunity out there. There's a lot of other people out there. There's just a lot of life to live. So, I'm not saying just close the door on anything and not try, but, move on.
Yeah, and then I've got another buddy right now who is going through that phase where, you know how it is, there's a narrative on each side after a divorce.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's getting painted in one light. And the problem is he was, married for a long time. So all of his friends, aside from maybe one or two, all came in the couple category, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
got to choose which side you're going to be on.
Yeah, so sides have been chosen, and he's been painted in a certain light. And I'm just like, he called me up. He said, hey, I just appreciate you being my friend. It's like, dude, I've been divorced, and I don't expect you to be perfect. I don't care what you did. I said, I'm still going to be your friend. And we all make mistakes. So I'm like, I'm here for you. So he's going through a rough time right now, but it does get better. And by the way, you got to check out YouTube because Colin's a badass. Right now, he looks like a DJ because the headphones, one ear is falling down, and he's got one ear on. It looks like you're kind of like one of those DJ guys spinning records. I love that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I can hear the crowd as well as I got my ear in the disc.
It's so good.
Yeah.
All right, so we're looking at our over-unders that we have over my shoulder. I pinned them up on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
How are we looking right now with our over-unders?
We're looking great. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. The college ones, I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling good about Utah, but they got some cream puff games coming up. But Oregon, I have unders. You took the overs.
Yeah.
And I took the unders, 10.5 on Ohio State and 10.5 on Oregon. And Ohio State just has nothing in front of them to just go undefeated. Oregon, they got their one loss, so I just need one more loss to get it. But they have Iowa, USC,
USC.
and then USC, and then University of Washington. All are they're going to be favored in all those games. But USC could clip them. After watching my Huskies this last weekend, I'm not as optimistic. That was a rough game.
Rough game. All right, so here's the update. So Colin took the Steelers wins over at 8.5.
Yep.
I took the over as well. That's looking pretty good. I feel good about them right now because Aaron Rodgers it's amazing. You lead the Jets, you start playing acceptable football again. Seahawks, you took the over of wins, 8.5. I took the over as well.
Yep.
That's looking really good right now.
That defense is just nasty.
Yeah, they get pressure with the front four. They've got young talent, and Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith and Jigba have formed quite the tandem, have they not?
They have. And just looking at yesterday's game, they had 4 turnovers in a game, and the defense just kept coming out and stopping Houston. Houston couldn't do anything.
They tried to let the Texans cover that game last night, they couldn't take advantage of it.
Nope.
All right, the Panthers. Regular season win total of 6.5.
I know.
You took the over. I took the under. But I would say that the over is in play right now.
Oh, yeah. They won 4 games.
They're running the football extremely well, and they're getting decent play from their quarterback.
Yeah.
They've been impressive.
And he's, I don't know if he's going to be playing. Bryce, I don't know if he's going to be playing. And we got the red missile or whatever his nickname is.
The red rifle.
Red rifle. That's what
the
it
red
is.
missile.
Whatever.
What is
red
he,
rocket.
Russian?
Red rocket.
That's good. 49ers over the 10.5 for the 49ers. I took the under. Right now, 10.5 over is looking pretty good.
It's looking good, but look at how many injuries, and they keep somehow winning games. That's the amazing part of it. If they could get some players back, Purdy and Kittle, and they lost both Bosa and Fred Warner, and
it's
that's
insanity.
Huge.
Yeah, here's the number. I found out this number. So right now, between Purdy, Warner, and Kittle, They have $287 million in guaranteed money that's not available to them.
Oh, my goodness.
Like Shanahan's out there with duct tape just
he
piecing
is.
things
He
together.
is.
It's
But
amazing.
he's doing an incredible job. They're winning. And Mac Jones, who would have thought that he would be balling like he is?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
he looks great.
Yeah.
He's shown toughness and kind of revived himself coming out of New England. You took the under on Ohio State at 10.5. I took the
Yeah.
over. I think we know where that's headed.
I think that they're going to be undefeated.
Yeah, undefeated season coming their way for sure. Oregon wins under 10.5 for Colin. I took the over.
Yep.
We'll find out in those games you mentioned.
Yep.
Utah regular season wins over the 7.5 for Colin. Over for me. I think they'll go over 7.5.
I think so.
They have
they've
2 conference losses, but they're still
Yeah.
tough. They run the ball well and they
BYU
defend.
this last weekend took it to them, but I think they got some easy games ahead.
Cowboys regular season wins over 7.5 for Colin. I took the under. Dak Prescott's playing like an MVP. They're going to
He
go
is.
over.
He is.
I think they are. He is playing as well as anybody in football right now.
Which is why this weekend coming up, they're playing the Broncos.
Yes.
And I heard you talking about it, and I'm thinking the Broncos' defense is great.
Yes.
But they're not going to be able to stop Dak. And clearly, Bo can have a few good series, which he did have a few.
But their offense has been struggling.
And so I don't know how they can keep up with a scoring machine. No matter how good that defense is at Broncos, they're not going to be able to stop both CeeDee Lamb and Pickens. And so I just think that they're just offense. They're just going to have to outscore everybody, and I don't think Broncos can keep up. So that +3 this weekend, I took the +3. I took the points.
All right. Washington Commanders regular season wins under 9.5 for Colin. I took the over. We'll find out.
Yeah,
They've been banged up. Their defense is not playing well. They don't look good right now.
McLaurin's out. Debo's banged up. And
you might look like a genius on that one. Cincinnati Bengals wins under 9.5. I took the under. You took the under.
Oh, yeah.
That's
no question.
Once Joe Burrow went down, that was cash.
Flacco had a good game and pissed off Tomlin with that. He was hot about that. And he had a good reason. They went back and beat the Steelers the next week, but I think he's going to go down after this.
All right, Browns regular season wins. You took the over 5.5. I took the under. Hard to say with the Browns.
Yeah.
They have championship quality defense, but their offense is brutal.
Yeah, and Dillon's not their answer. They can run it, but they can't pass it, and Shadur's not going to be it. And obviously, they traded Flacco, so
they covered that game easy this past weekend because their defense just took apart Tua.
Yeah, and outdoor, and it was 30-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah,
it was
hideous
rainy.
condition.
It was nasty. Tua's not going to be able to survive in that. He's a fair weather player.
All right, Colin comes in. He's from law offices Goldberg Jones. He comes in every week to answer your questions that you send in to me. 1-800-DIVORCE is the telephone number. If you call him because you have questions, he gets back to you and answers any of your questions for free. It's a no hassle free consultation, which is nice. The first question I got for you, Colin, is how do personal injury settlements impact divorce?
That's a great question because this is a big deal. People who come in really are concerned about that. And generally, the courts consider personal injury settlements associated with the pain and suffering aspect as separate property. Oh. Because what's happening in there is when you get injured, the only thing they can do for an injury, like a broken arm, let's say, is tape money to it. Well, your spouse doesn't get to have the pain of a broken arm and doesn't, that the only thing that can do it is the money. And so that's separate property. Now, if it's wage reimbursement, like you missed work because of the personal injury and it's wage compensation, that can be marital. So generally speaking, separate property.
All right, good news. Next question. Colin, how do parenting plans vary for couples who have a child but weren't married?
Well, it's the same thing. The marriage, obviously, we know these days you don't have to be married to continue to have sex and have kids, and therefore you have to deal with the same thing. So you go through a custody case, and it's really just assessing the parents and their roles with the kids, their work schedules, their availability. The courts are very receptive to shared parenting plans these days, but it's really the two biggest things I tell people is to have a shared parenting plan or have involvement. Flexibility of work schedule. You have the availability to spend time with your kids, which these days with hybrid work schedules, working from home, you can do, and proximity to where the kids go to school or the daycare or the other parent. You have those two things, you can have a really substantially shared parenting plan. So whether you're getting a divorce or not, it's the same process to determine what's best for the kids.
All right, next question, Colin. Can you buy a house during a divorce?
Yeah, sure. It's a little more complicated. there are many times when the problem with buying a house, when you're in the midst of a divorce, it's the financing that's your issue, because no lender generally will touch you because they don't know who you are financially. They don't know what's been settled upon on child support or spousal support or how much money you're going to get. All of that creates uncertainty for a lender. Now, if you have enough cash or you're buying a cash outright, which would be great, no problem. And then usually it's a pre-distribution of your portion of the marital estate that you use for your down payment, et cetera. But your biggest problem would be the financing. So there's sometimes when people are more agreeable, they hold off on filing their divorce until the other spouse buys that house, use pre-distribution of the settlement proceeds, then they file the divorce because the financing's been secured.
We're talking to Colin Amos, law offices of Goldberg Jones. 1-800-DIVORCE is the telephone number. If you're facing a divorce, custody issue, or need a prenuptial agreement, call Colin at 1-800-DIVORCE. Next question, Colin, are there expectations for my ex and how they may spend the child support money? I send her money every month. Can she spend it however she wants?
You know the answer to this.
They can spend it however they want.
That's right.
You have no say.
Are there expectations? Absolutely. Every client has expectations of where that money should be spent, and they're always mad with right after their child support payment when she's out getting her hair done or things like that. But yeah, what I tell clients, which is frustrating for them to hear, because they want their money to be spent for the kids. I said what the court expects is if the child wears clothing,
yes,
they eat some kind of food, and they live in some kind of dwelling,
yes,
then that is child support. And I was just talking with Kate outside about that. And child support's set pretty reasonably, especially given the cost of living, rent or mortgages these days and food and driving kids around. So nobody gets to micromanage where the child support goes. You just close your eyes and write the check and don't think about it.
Yeah, my mistake was the child support was very reasonable. My mouth saying, "Don't worry, I'll help with the college and take care of that." Yeah, that's where
you were very generous. You were very generous.
But no, it's it's not as bad. I think guys, too much TV and too many movies, right? I think guys freak out because they think alimony and high child support, but in most cases, I think it's very reasonable.
The state's done a good job in trying to create an objective standard. It's not perfect by any means, but both Washington and Oregon have this formula you use. You don't have to argue about it. You don't have to pay an attorney a bunch of money because you run it through the calculator. It takes into consideration your overnights and parenting time, gives you credit because if you're watching the kids more, if you're having them more overnights, you pay less child support. So they do as good a job as you can.
All right, next question. Colin, how do you correct a mistake on a divorce decree?
Well, if it's agreed, it's no problem. You can just open it up to correct it could be a Scrivener's error or an error in language or name or whatever. If it's not agreeable, there are only a few things you can really modify. You can modify parenting plan, child support, and spousal support. If there's other problems, you might just have problems in drafting that you just can't correct. So this goes back to that, what we always talk about. Just make sure you dot the I's and cross the T's. Make sure whatever deal you're going to sign, because the judge will sign anything. They don't care. They'll close their eyes and sign it. It's not their life. They don't have to live with it, but they will hold you accountable to it. So just make sure that order is well thought through. You've read it. Your attorney has looked over it, so it's something you can live with.
All right, next question. Colin, how do dads go about getting primary custody?
Yeah, this is much more common. Fathers are very involved. Fathers are getting custody, which is great because, our focus is representing men. So it's nice the courts are listening far more because men are more involved in the day-to-day care. So primary custody, a lot of people say, well, women always get custody. Well, historically, women have stayed home, haven't worked, stayed home with the kids, been the primary care parent. That has changed. So the more you're involved in the day-to-day care, driving them around, getting them to school, help get them to the doctor's appointments, being available to take care of those day-to-day functions. That's what primary care is all about, and more men are involved in those capacities. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
No, I love seeing dads more involved, and I hate dads getting a bad rap all the time.
That's
right.
That's
not the case in most situations.
Not at all. Not at all. But the more involved you are, and these days, the more you're staying home taking care of the kids. But if you're working 60 hours a week and mom's staying at home, it's going to be hard for you to get custody.
All right, Colin. Next question, tough one. What are my custody rights if I have to spend 6 months in prison?
In Oregon, you can't have custody. First of all, you can't have joint legal custody, whether you're in prison or not.
Yeah.
But if you're in prison, you don't really have much rights. You can ask, petition the court to have maybe visitation, maybe phone contact, things of that nature to get that put into the order. It's really hard to enforce. Again, you have to have somebody on the outside trying to enforce that. But really what I tell clients who are either getting ready to go to prison or in prison, it's like, be a good person, take parenting classes, do all the things you can do that because in prison, they actually have quite a few programs you can get involved in.
Yeah.
So when you emerge from that dark moment, however long you've been there, you can say, these are all the self-help things I've done that were sponsored and provided by the prison. So you walk out of court and you can say, I'm a reformed individual and I want to have a meaningful relationship with my kids, because the court really is good about saying, we know that people make mistakes. The question is, what are you doing about the mistakes and what kind of parent are you now?
Because in the end, as you pointed out many times, they want dads to be involved in the kids' life. Yeah.
Both parents.
All right, final question. This one's come up before, but I love it. Colin, how do I start the conversation of a prenup without my fiance getting mad at me?
Oh, yes. Yeah, there's no way. Unless your fiance has a lot more money and assets than you do, then she's like, sure, let's talk about this.
Yeah, if Travis Kelce wants to talk prenup.
Yeah, no problem. Taylor Swift is all in on that. Yeah. Haley, is it Steinfeld or what is that? Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen's wife now? Haley.
Yeah, I think it's Haley. She's hot.
She is. And, she had no problem talking about it. But, there's no easy way. I don't understand it because my position is,
Haley Steinfeld.
Steinfeld. That's what I keep wanting to say, Seinfeld. But, she didn't have any problem talking about it with Josh.
Of course not.
But Josh is such a nice guy. He probably went in like you. Was like, no, whatever I earn, you can have it. No easy way. But have the conversation. I can tell you, paying me a ton of money to resolve issues that could easily have been handled with a prenuptial that says this is how we're going to handle our life. And these days, prenuptials don't just deal with assets that you're bringing into the marriage. They also regulate how you're going to handle your income acquired during the marriage, retirement assets that you generate during the marriage, and spousal support. All that can be addressed up front and save you the grief and legal expenses if a divorce is pursued. If it's not, then you've done a contract that, you still share what you want to share during the marriage.
Yeah, it's very reasonable.
Yeah,
and more people are doing it now today, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would think that if we know the divorce rate, right? Why not have that conversation ahead of time?
You just know that it's high, and 50% is generous. I think it's
more than that, right?
It's more than that, yeah. So man up, woman up, and get in there and take care of things.
All right, 1-800-DIVORCE is the telephone number. Colin Amos is in studio. I think that covers all the questions. We updated you on the win totals for the year.
That's right.
You're knee deep into it, man.
I am in full degenerate mode. I had my phone going with the Falcons, or not the Falcons. I had the Hawks on.
Yes.
I had the Lions on. I had the Mariners on.
The whole shebang.
I was like, wife, don't talk to me tonight. I am busy.
All right, Colin joins me every month to answer your questions. He'll be back next month. Colin, I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, this is great.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. Casey Holdog going to stop by and talk Blazers ahead of tomorrow. Man, Aerosmith has got some good music. Nice work by Shacker. Big thanks to Colin Amos for stopping by in studio to answer your questions. Have you ever seen Aerosmith in concert, Shacker?
No, and I was planning on seeing him with Black Crowes, and then that concert got canceled at Moda Center.
And Aerosmith, are they going to tour anymore? They're done.
They're
right?
done. They're done. Band members have moved on to other bands. Aerosmith, they need to go out like what Ozzy did over the summer. They need to have like an Aerosmith tribute concert and just have one last performance.
That's not a bad idea. I played Mr. Mister for the Name That Tune. I just pulled up some videos. Richard Page is the gentleman. He's the head man for Mr. Mister. Great vocalist. He was a session musician back in the day who did he worked with a variety of different artists, songwriter. I think Toto offered him their lead singer job, but he wanted to do his own thing, so he formed that band, Mr. Mister. I think he was originally a part of Pages back in the day, but I saw on YouTube, I stumbled across it because I was doing a little deep dive on Richard Page. He had done a lot of work with Ringo Starr's All-Star Band as well. And he wasn't a part of the Ringo Band when I saw the Ringo All-Star Band a couple of years ago down in Vegas with my boy Steve, but he did tour with the Ringo Band for a number of years. And the Ringo All-Star Band is a great concept because he puts all these great musicians together, and then they put their concerts together by playing each other's music, which is awesome. But anyways, I think it had been like the first time in 20 years or a long period of time where the entire original group, Mr. Mister, got together at Page's house and they played Broken Wings. It was pretty awesome. Love, kind of uncovering that kind of stuff, which is cool. Really like it a lot. Tua, let's see if I can find that audio. Mike McDaniel, head coach for the Dolphins, probably going to be fired soon because his team's just a complete disaster. Like everything's come off the rails. Tua's a disaster. Mike McDaniel looks like some type of weird dude with a vape pen. He looks really bizarre in cold weather. Like you could tell that he's comfortable in the warm temperatures of Miami, but it's really bizarre. So I don't know how to explain it. I just know that they're in trouble, but I do give him respect because he actually called out Tua, which is pretty amazing. And I thought it was pretty sweet. So I want you to take a listen to this. This is Mike McDaniel in response to Tua. Now, I think that he was calling out Tua for the way he called out the defense a couple of weeks ago after that loss to the Chargers. Let's take a listen to Tua. Let's see if I can find the original. I can't find it. Gosh dang it. I thought I had it, but I don't have it. Do I have it? No, I don't have it. I need to find that original audio. That's really unfortunate. Okay. I have failed you miserably. I know this is nothing new. Here it is. Is this it? No. Gosh darn it. Here's Mike McDaniel on his expectations for Tua this week. Take a listen to Mike McDaniel. I think this is pretty sweet.
Yeah, he's going to take the snaps this week, and he's going to be our starter this week. And my expectation is that we don't throw 10 picks.
How many times do you hear a head coach openly say that about their quarterback? And it's so unlike Mike McDaniel to step up and call out one of his guys. He doesn't do that. But yet in this situation, he did that. And I think what he was doing is kind of sending a message to Tua that, hey, if you're going to come out and call out these guys and then go out there and put up that type of performance like you did against the Browns, that's unacceptable. But that's exactly what he did. It's amazing. Take a listen to that.
Yeah, he's going to take the snaps this week, and he's going to be our starter this week. And my expectation is that we don't throw 10 picks.
So I think I know what he's doing. That's some high-level criticism there from Mike McDaniel, kind of just putting his quarterback back in line. But the Dolphins are a disaster. There are a few teams right now. We're starting to see some, we're getting some clarification. Not completely, but at least around the league in terms of some of the haves and have-nots. And we're seeing that now in the AFC East. The Patriots, I got to give them props. I did not think they would do it, but they're at 5-2 and looking really good. Mike Vrabel can coach his ass off. They lead the division. Buffalo's right there at 4-2. After a hot start, the Bills have dropped back-to-back games, but they're going to be fine. The Dolphins are 1-6. The Jets are 0-7. Those two teams, two of the worst teams in all of football. The Jets probably the worst. The Dolphins are far behind. Patriots, Bills, legit. In the AFC North, Steelers lead the North at 4-2. Bengals are done at 3-4 with no Joe Burrow. Browns are 2-5. They're done. And then the Ravens are 1-5, probably done, but they have a flicker of hope because they're going to get Lamar Jackson back. I still think a 1-5 hole is probably too deep to dig yourself out of. In the AFC South, I was wrong. I said the Texans would be the only team in the playoffs, would win the division and have no issue. But the problem is their offense is a disaster. Offensive line is awful. They're a good defensive team, but you saw it last night. They can't produce on a regular basis on offense. And the Indianapolis Colts are one of the best teams in football. The play they're getting at the line of scrimmage is immense. Daniel Jones is playing like an MVP, and Jonathan Taylor is one of the best players in the NFL. The Colts are legit. They clowned the Chargers in L.A. this past weekend. In the AFC West, it's exactly what we thought. Broncos are 5-2, lead the division. Chargers are 4-3, but they're struggling, and they've been decimated by injuries. And all of a sudden, the Kansas City Chiefs are on fire at 4-3 and look like the best team in football. And the Raiders are exactly where we thought they'd be. In the basement at 2-5, a disaster, and Geno Smith is awful at football. And the people who tried to sell me on Geno being a better quarterback than Sam Darnold should go get drug tested immediately. Geno Smith is a disaster. In the NFC East, the Eagles, no surprise, on top at 5-2, one of the best teams in football. The Cowboys have been one of the surprises, getting great efforts from their coach. Brian Schottenheimer's done a good job. You've got Dak playing like an MVP. They're 3-1 in spite of a run defense that's a disaster. The Commanders looking like maybe they could be in some trouble at 3-4. Defense looks a little bit slow. They're beat up at quarterback with Jaden Daniels. And you've got the Giants at 2-5. They're not going to be a playoff team, but they've got new life breathed into them from Jackson Dart and Cam Scattaboo. Packers 4-1-1 leading the NFC North. Lions are at 5-2. Those two teams look legit. The Bears are moving in the right direction. The Vikings, their quarterback situation leaves them as an unknown, but they're 3-3. The NFC North is wildly competitive. In the NFC South, the Bucs at 5-2 are the team to beat in the division. Carolina's impressed at 4-3. Falcons are 3-3, playing pretty good football, and the Saints are right there with the Jets, Dolphins, and the rest of the bad teams in the NFL. And then the NFC West, wildly competitive, 49ers, Hawks, and Rams all sitting at 5-2. And Kyle Shanahan deserves credit for his effort. Now, this right here would be Adam Sandler. He's going to be at Moda Center coming up on October 28th. Shacker is celebrating Sandler. We'll give away a pair of tickets for Adam Sandler October 28th at Moda Center coming up next on the Rip City Drive. And then Casey Holdog going to stop by at 5:20. o'clock chat here. The Portland Trailblazers are going to kick off a brand new 5 o'clock chat here. The Portland Trailblazers are going to kick off a brand new season tomorrow. They host the Minnesota Timberwolves. That tip-off from Moda Center at 7. Our coverage starts at 3. I'll be live from Moda with the Rip City Drive. Chris Burkhardt at 5 with Blazers Game Day tip-off will be at 7 right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Coach Billups announced his starting lineup. Drew Holiday, Shaden Sharp, Donovan Clingan, along with Denny Avdia and Tamani Kamara. And Jeremy Grant will come off the bench. Robert Williams III, not available tomorrow. Matisse Thybulle is to be determined. And, of course, all Trailblazer games stream live on our free iHeartRadio app. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. Every Tuesday throughout the entire basketball season, I'll have tickets for every home game. I have another pair for Friday's game against the Warriors. And Trailblazers will give away coming up at 5:20. World Series Game 1 from Toronto, Dodgers and Blue Jays. First pitch on Friday at 5 on Fox. I didn't care if you was around me. I didn't care if you went away. Well, I love Mike and the Mechanics. Big fan of Paul Carrick. I made it up as I went along. All right, we got a pair of tickets for Adam Sandler. He's going to be at Moda Center on October 28th. All I need is you. This is right back in the heyday of MTV and VH1. I used to love going to hang out with my cousins, Becky and Kimberly. I'm really close to my Uncle Truman, who's a good dude, but he loved all the music I did, so we would watch, listen, and learn. All right, 503-248-0620. All right, Adam Sandler tickets, October 28th. We're not going to do Name That Tune. We're going to keep this very simple. Very simple. I think we'll do caller number 14 right now. If you'd like to go see Adam Sandler, 503-248-0620. Caller 14 right now. Fire away. I want to hear from an Adam Sandler fan. 503-248-0620. That's your telephone number. Call now. Fire away with your phone calls. 503-248-0620. Caller number 14 will get a pair of tickets for Adam Sandler on the 28th. Light him up. Light him up right now. Do it. Good job. All right. Caller 14 gets a pair of tickets for Adam Sandler. We'll have tickets for Sandler throughout the rest of the week as well. Well, I'll tell you what. Yesterday was brutal. I went down to the Trailblazer Booster Club. I had a speaking engagement. I spoke for, 10 to 15 minutes. When I started my Trailblazer conversation with the group, the Mariners were 9 outs away from a World Series, had a 3-1 lead. By the time I was done, I looked down at my phone. I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me.
1-0 pitch. Swing and a fly ball. Left field and deep. Rosarena turns. Gone! A Springer dinger. 4-3 Blue Jays in the bottom of the 7th.
So brutal. Springer, of all guys, with the home run. One of the few guys in that lineup that you know can kill you. And he did. And as soon as that ball left the park, we all knew the game was over. The Mariners were dead. 4-3 final. And the Mariners come up 9 outs short of their very first World Series. And the frustrating part is that I think Dan Wilson's the one to blame. He had the opportunity to go and bring in Munoz, who had been untouched in the postseason, but didn't. He went Bizardo, and it came back to bite him. And after the game, he was questioned about his decision-making. Here's what he had to say.
Dan, you go into the bottom of the seventh. You're 9 outs away from the World Series. Things kind of went awry. Can you just walk us through all the pitching decisions there and what led into them?
Yeah, I mean, Brian was throwing the ball so well. First of all, George, I thought, threw the ball excellent, and then Brian picked up right where George left off, and gave us a good spot to be in, and after the walk, hoping to get the ground ball, which we did, but it just found a hole, and then knew Jimenez was going to bunt there, and Bizardo's been the guy that's gotten us through those situations, those tight ones, especially in the pivot role, and that's where we were going at that point.
Did you consider going to Munoz, and why did you like Bizardo better than Munoz in that situation?
Well, I mean, I think like we said, Bizardo's been doing it all season long and has been so consistent at it, and he's done such a good job all year, and we felt really comfortable with him out there, the way he's been throwing the ball, especially in this series, and it was a good spot for him.
Up front on your left, Daniel. Dan, just what was your message to the team after the game?
Just to hold up their heads, to understand what kind of a season they had. I mean, I know this stings, and there's no question that it's going to sting. But the kind of season they had, doing things that no team in this organization has ever done, knocking on the door of a World Series. All that, it's due to how hard they've worked, how hard they've played all season long, all the times they've come back, all the times they've bounced back. It's a special team in there, and it's just it's a shame we had to come out on the wrong side of this one.
Yeah, it's a shame, and it didn't have to happen. I mean, I think in that spot, you got to go with Munoz. You cannot take chances. And not only that, but why are you pitching to Springer in the first place? Walk the guy. The two guys I fear the most in that lineup are him, Springer, and, of course, Vlad. And, Wilson showed throughout the course of the year and in the postseason that I think his inexperience of being in those moments and making those type of decisions, I think it came back to bite him. It really did. And the problem is that when you make those type of decisions that prove costly, you may never get another look at it. I mean, those are punitive damages. So you hope the Mariners get back. I hope they have what it takes to get back there and have another look at it. But, man, that was a great look. You're 9 outs away. You got a 2-run lead, and you give up a 3-run bomb because you have your fourth best reliever on the bump. Absolutely brutal. And as you might expect, the leader of the club, Cal Raleigh, upset.
I hate to use the word failure, but it's a failure. And that's what we expected, was to get to a World Series, win a World Series, and that's, what the bar is and the standard is, and, it's what we want to hold ourselves accountable to. But, it hurts.
Yeah, it hurts. Sucks, man. Dude, so brutal. And I know a lot of people, huge Mariner fans who've been following the team for years, devastated. They don't even want to talk about it today because it hurts so much. When your team gets that close and you can smell it. And I was impressed because they got good pitching. They had Julio step up along with Cal Raleigh. They had some bats come to life in that Game 7. They were doing the things that are required to win a Game 7 on the road. And they were right there. And credit to Springer. I can't stand the guy. He drives me crazy, but he's a clutch dude. And he's done it time and time again in the postseason. He's revered in Houston for obvious reasons. He's also a cheater. Yeah, it sucks, man. That was brutal. And you may never get another look at it. And that's why, that mistake, that's one that Wilson's got to live with. He had a chance to make the right call, and he did not. Walk Springer, or at least bring in the guy that would have gotten him out, Munoz. Because I believe if Munoz comes in, he doesn't give up the home run. And Bizzardo had done good work all year, but in that situation, you've got to go with your best. You cannot take chances. You got to go with your best. If you bring in Munoz and Munoz gives up the hit, then so be it. But knowing Munoz was available with rest and you didn't put him out there in a jam, I mean, it's just frustrating. So there you go. But that's what makes sports so great, right? Is that when you're in a situation, a high leverage situation, and the wins mean everything and the losses are nothing but pure devastation, like it's that wild swing that makes it so awesome. But still annoying. Man, that was a great run. You know, I thought when we got the home run from Suarez on Friday, the grand slam, you know, I thought that they would be able to get to the World Series. Just win one. I thought they would do it. And last night, it sure looked good. They had things going in the right direction. They had some timely hits from Julio and Cal. And when Cal hit that home run, it's like, oh, they got this. But no, the Blue Jays did it. And I got to give them props, too. They came up in spades, man. They were down 2-0 after being at home in the first two games. They won the next two in Seattle and looked great. And they bounced back and won 2 straight at home. So tip of the cap to Toronto, but that was a missed opportunity. And Dan Wilson's got no one to blame but himself. And that's just the reality of it. Because Munoz has been terrific. Horrible. As soon as the ball, it's one of those hits, too, where it's like as soon as it hit the bat, you're like, it's gone. 1 minute you're thinking World Series the next, 1 second World Series next second. Oh, my gosh.
1-0 pitch. Swing and a fly ball. Left field and deep. Arozarena turns. Gone! A Springer dinger. 4-3 Blue Jays in the bottom of the 7th.
You got your Springer dinger right here. All right, coming up next, I have another pair of tickets for the Trailblazer game coming up on Friday. We have to have a conversation with Casey Curry to win Blazer tickets to see the Warriors in action on Friday. Steph Curry and Company to win Blazer tickets to see the Warriors in action on Friday. Steph Curry and Company in town. You can go there and make fun of all the fake Warrior fans who used to be Laker fans. Now they're Warrior fans, and then they'll transition back to Laker fans based on who's playing better basketball. But they're fake, and it's annoying. And that's coming up on Friday. So we'll do the tickets. Casey Holdog going to join us. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Trailblazers season openers coming up tomorrow night. Tip-off against the Timberwolves at 7 o'clock. I'll have the Rip City Drive live from Moda Center starting at 3, and then Blazer Game Day with Chris Burkhardt at 5. And joining us right now is the Trailblazers reporter and insider, Casey Holdock. Casey, thanks for coming back on the show, buddy.
Thank you for having me, Chad.
Well, we got the starting lineup announced by Coach. What are your thoughts on Drew Holiday, Shaedon Sharpe, Donovan Clingan, Denny, and Tamani?
Yeah, I think that it got to the point where he'd seen what he wanted to see, and I think that it got to the point where he'd seen what he wanted to see, and basically went with the 5 guys that he feels like had been playing the best, and so that's Drew and Shaedon and Denny and Tamani and Donovan. I think it was probably a pretty close call with Jeremy, but I think on one hand, I think that 5 just fits a little better. I think, if you go with Jeremy instead of Shaedon, which was the case at times last year, then, obviously you lose a little athleticism, but then you also really don't have a second guard. Denny and Tamani can both handle a bit, as can Jeremy, but, not to the same level and not with the same kind of positionality as you get from a guy like Shaedon. And, I think the other part of that, too, is that Chauncey really emphasized that he feels like, there's basically 7 starters on the team, and he included Scoot in that, even though that Scoot's, not going to be available until, later on in the season. So, I think that it basically came down to, what does Chauncey want to try out first? And I think particularly with the way that Shaedon played in preseason, I think that, they want to try that out and see how it goes. And I wouldn't all be surprised if Chauncey saw what he liked, what he sees, then I think he's going to stick with it. If not, or if there's a different matchup that might kind of change his mind, I think we could see that later on down the road as well. But, yeah, I think that starting 5 is what a lot of fans wanted to see. I think it's probably, again, it's their best lineup so far. So I think it makes quite a bit of sense why he decided to go that direction.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm excited to see that group. I really like what I saw from Shaedon Sharpe coming out of preseason. What was your overall take on his preseason? Did you see the engagement level that you think Coach was looking for on both ends? What was your overall assessment of Shaedon coming out of the 4 preseason games?
I did. I think with Shaedon, it's still a work in progress. I think that they're always going to kind of want more out of Shaedon just because of how strongly they feel about his skills and his abilities. But I think you definitely saw what you needed to see out of Shaedon in terms of his attention to detail and his willingness to defend as well. And I think the defense piece is really where I think that's how Shaedon kind of got back into Chauncey's best graces, because I think he's really trying hard on that end and competing. And that's, when you got guys like Drew Holiday and Tamani Kamara and Donovan Clingan in your starting lineup, the other guys don't necessarily have to be, elite defenders. They just got to go out there and do their best and try hard and do their version of being a good defender, whatever that might be. And so, I think that Shaedon has shown that he's capable of doing that. I think he's had enough stretches where he's shown himself to be the kind of player that can get it done on both sides of the ball. And, I think Shaedon's always going to be, more of an offensive-minded player than a defensive-minded player. But I think he obviously has the tools to be a better defender, and I think we've been seeing that out of him in preseason. And I think that's probably ultimately why Chauncey decided to go that direction. The other piece, too, is maybe just three-point shooting. Jeremy did struggle quite a bit through preseason in terms of his three-point shot. He shot well in the final game versus the Jazz, but before that, I think he entered that game shooting maybe like 2 of 15 from threes. So, I think three-point shooting is already an area on this team where they're probably going to be a little bit deficient anyways, and so I think they're trying to load up their best shooters that should be starting in that starting lineup, and I think obviously Shaedon qualifies as that. So I think those are kind of the reasons why, and I think that Shaedon has earned it, but I also do think it's a fluid situation, and if at any point in time Chauncey feels like any of those starters aren't doing what he wants them to do, I would not all be surprised if he decided to make a change.
Yeah, the three-point percentage for Shaedon, like I watch his game and I watch him play, he can score at all 3 levels. His form and the way he operates is very pure. So I just have to imagine with the mechanics that he's working with, eventually those numbers are going to start to tick up.
I would imagine, too. And again, like I've been saying it over and over and over again, the 31% that he shot from 3 last season, like I think part of that was maybe that injury he had with his shoulder. And again, it was a non-shooting shoulder, but, it's still not nothing. I think he's going to get better quality three-point shots this season. I think, particularly once with both Ant and DeAndre out at the end of last season, and that's when Shaden, one, really made a lot of progress with his offense, but two, probably had to take some shots without those guys on the court that, he might not have otherwise taken, or might have gotten some better looks if there was another guy who was an elite 3-point shooter that could kind of draw the defense away. So I think that's part of what happened with Shaden last year, and I just think it was maybe just a little third-year thing as well. Like I would be shocked if Shaden didn't shoot at least like 33 to 35% this year. I think 31% is his absolute floor. So I'm expecting a better shooting season from Shaden. And I also think too, that just with the opportunity to play more and to get that trust from Chauncey, I think that's going to have a result on the court as well.
All right. Casey Holda, Trailblazers with us here on the Rip City Drive. I wanted to ask you about the extensions that we got word on over the weekend. We'll start with Shaden Sharp, 4 years, $90 million. When I first saw that, I'm like, that could really be a good bargain for the team. What's your read on that?
Yeah, I think that was kind of the consensus, and that was mine as well. And I think part of it is obviously $90 million is a great deal. I don't think anyone goes away from that feeling like they're not satisfied with the number, both from the players' side and from the team side. And I think for Shaden, it shows that he's obviously established himself as a very good young player, but has still got some room to grow. And so I think, that deal really kind of reflects that. I think it's obviously great money, and, it's in line with what the other players of his caliber have been getting as extensions. But it also, I think, shows that, I think Shaden probably knows that, I still have a ways to go as well. And, if I perform well on this contract, that the next one is really going to be, when I think he'll be maybe 28 at that point. So really kind of in his prime. And, at that point in time, maybe the conversation's different. But I think that as of right now, it's a really smart deal for both sides. It gives Shaden stability, and it's a sign of success. But again, it also doesn't put the Trailblazers in a spot where it's like, boy, if Shaden doesn't become an all-NBA, all-star caliber player within the next season or two, we're going to be sideways with that contract. So I think it's one of those contracts where and it doesn't really seem to happen as a lot in pro sports, where I really do feel like it's a really good contract for both sides. And so I think that the team should feel really good about the business they got done there, and I think Shaden and his representation should feel really good about it as well.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Tamani Kamara, 4 years, $82 million. And Casey, it's pretty obvious. We know what Tamani is. At the very least, he's going to be an elite defender, and he's a great teammate, and he has Chauncey Billups' mentality on the floor, which is great. But if he continues to develop on the offensive end, we're seeing the three-point numbers tick up, and last year showing a willingness to put the ball on the floor and drive past the closeout defender and attack the rim. Like, if he continues to develop on offense and become an even more complete player, which he has a desire to do, man, 4 years, 82 for a guy like Tamani, first-team all-defender potential, no-brainer.
Absolutely. I think that deal is – I think you feel even better about that deal. You feel pretty good about Shaden's deal, but I think the Tamani deal is one that people look at and have already said, that might be one of the better contracts in the NBA right now.
Yes.
And that hasn't even started yet, So, and you're exactly right. Tamani's the kind of guy, too, where, there is exactly zero concern that he is ever going to not go out there and try to improve himself. I think, we've seen Tamani coming from, he's got the mentality of a late second round guy, which is that, I'm not going to be comfortable. I have to go out there and do the things that maybe some other guys don't want to do, or really highlight the skills that maybe some other guys aren't as interested in or don't have in order to get myself on the court. And so, he goes from being not a throw-in necessarily in the DeAndre Ayton trade, but definitely kind of, further down the bullet points of that trade, and, plays well, earns a starting spot, within a month of his time in Portland, starts for the majority of his rookie season, has it ended shortly because he gets his kidney lacerated and a rib thrusted that he played through for a half, and then comes back and is even better the year after that in his second season and earns second-team All-NBA defense honors, something that no Blazer has done since Theo Ratliff. And so it's obviously we want to reward this guy for what he's done. And so, they got that contract done a little bit earlier than I think maybe some people might have thought they would. They had a team option. They could have played through that. But I think they decided that, we know that we want to have Tamani on this team long term, so let's go ahead and just get something done now. And I think from Tamani's perspective, it's, again, same thing with Shaden, that it's very good money. It is life-changing money. He's going to be just fine financially for the rest of his life, and that probably goes for his kids and his kids' kids. But I also think for Tamani, it was about the role that he plays on this team, the trust that he's been given by this team, and his desire to want to be on this team and see it get somewhere that is, from where it was when Tamani got here 2 seasons ago. He would like to see it kind of continue to improve, and I think that that's something that is really factored into that decision for Tamani to take that deal. Because again, Tamani also could have, he could have gone unrestricted free agency. He could have, waited, played this season out. If he gets another All-NBA honor, then you're probably even looking at a raise at that point in time as well. So, I think that the relationship piece for Tamani's contract and coming to an agreement there with his representation was, it's a business, so the money is obviously very important. And, for the most part, the money is always generally the most important thing. But after that, it gets pretty close into the notion that, hey, if I want to be somewhere where I'm going to be comfortable and I know I can be successful, I know I have a role, I know I'm valued, and I know that we're building something that I feel proud of. And I think that's kind of where Tamani came down on that. And I really couldn't be happier for Tamani. I think obviously just a great guy who has done everything the right way, both on and off the court, who's absolutely earned everything he's gotten. So I'm expecting big things from Tamani. I think he's going to have a better year this year than he had next year. And yeah, Chad, I agree. I think you maybe kind of view Tamani as a guy when he got to Portland and when you saw what he could do, it's boy, if this guy could become a real really good 3-and-D defender, that would be great. I think now you start to kind of a really good 3-and-D defender for me. That's Tamani's floor right now. That's the guy he is now. So I think that, both those deals, I think really smart for the team. I know they're ecstatic to get those done. And again, I think just deals that really reflect, what Joe Cronin and his staff have tried to do here in Portland, which is to be a place that players feel valued and feel like they can grow and improve. And I think that both those contracts are a really good indication of that.
All right, Casey Holdhouse with us. We got an update from Coach Billups. So Matisse Thybulle is TBD for tomorrow, and I think Robert Williams has been ruled out, but it sounds like he could be close to returning. But I guess for the most part, the team appears to be pretty healthy heading into the season, which is nice.
It's awesome. And, I always kind of got the sense a little bit that Matisse was really hey, let's just be incredibly careful with Matisse. We don't want a situation like last year where, he was so close to coming back last year, and then he rolled his ankle and really had a setback to put him back basically almost the entire season. He was able to get in towards the end of the year, but he was within, I think, weeks of coming back, and then had that re-injury. I don't even know if it's a re-injury because I don't know if the ankle was necessarily the original issue, but that really, again, that stopped him from being able to play almost the entirety of last season. So I think, going into this season, I think it was more hey, let's just be super cautious with this, and let's not do anything where any kind of situation like last year might occur where, he's so close to coming back and then it's ripped away. So that's part of it. And then with Rob, again, it's just the absolute abundance of caution with Rob. Everyone wants Rob to get out there. We would love to have Rob to be able to play any stretch of time for this team, because I think, it would really help this team defensively. Rob is such a smart player, a great veteran, a guy who everyone loves on the court and in the locker room. And so I think with Rob, I think he's getting pretty close. I would not at all be surprised if he was able to play, within the next week or two. But I think, he was going through he was playing, I think, 3-on-3 half court when we were in the gym today, and he looked great, and they were going hard. It wasn't like it wasn't like drills and they weren't playing half court, but it was some serious bumps. So that would indicate to me that Rob is fairly close, because I haven't seen him doing those things previous to today. So I think it's close, but I'm imagining maybe a week or two before it gets real close. So yeah, but other than that, and obviously you got Scoot, who unfortunately is still on the shelf. I'm guessing that maybe we're going to get an update about that within a week or two. I know he's coming up on that initial 4-week timeline, but as you well know, Chad, it was 4 to 8 weeks, and that was just for basketball activities. So I not entirely sure what the status is there, but also we did see Scoot on the court today as well. I guess I should also mention that he wasn't playing 3-on-3, but he was on the court taking some jumpers, which I think they've almost had him doing absolutely nothing on the court. So the fact that he is at least on the court in workout clothes, getting up a few shots, that's a bit of progress as well.
That's terrific. All right, Casey Holdaw, your Trailblazer reporter and insider here on the Rip City Drive. Casey, I appreciate it, buddy. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, and we get a chance to kick off a brand new season together. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it as well, Chad.
All right, you can read him at trailblazers.com, and be sure to check out his podcast, which he's got two. He does Blazers Balcony with Brooke Olzendam, and, of course, The Briefcase with Casey Holdaw. All right, we have another pair of tickets coming up for the game on Friday against the Warriors. So for you Steph Curry fans who want to see him fire away from downtown, we got your chance to do it right now. Get a chance to see these new-look Trailblazers in action. Friday night could be a date night. Maybe you take one of the kids. Maybe you tell the kids to put an egg in their shoe and beat it and take the wife. Maybe you tell your entire family to put an egg in their shoe and beat it and take a bro. Or maybe it's a ladies' night. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you. Let's see here. What's a good number? How about 21? Caller 21 right now gets a pair of tickets for the Warriors and Blazers on Friday. 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. Call now. 503-248-0620. Caller 21 gets a pair of tickets for the Warriors and Trailblazers. Friday night at Motor Center. 503-248-0620. Call now. Your chance to see the Warriors is now. 503-248-0620. Caller 21 gets a pair of tickets for the Warriors and Trailblazers Friday night at Motor Center. It's that simple. 503-248-0620. Good. Good work, my friends. Good work. There you have it. Big thanks to Casey Holdaw. Big thanks to Colin Amos. Big thanks to Pete Futek. Got a lot of good things going on. I love it. Sean and Sandy is annoying me right now. But what else is new? Here's what Sean and Sandy had to tell me about the Mariners. Thank Dan Wilson for getting him there instead of blaming him. So, Chad, Munoz, the closer, was supposed to pitch 3 innings. Are you on drugs? Unless Munoz is, he wouldn't get it done. Munoz would be coming in for the 8th and 9th, not 3 innings, amigo. Those choices are absolutely above our pay grade, brother. I'll usually back whatever people in charge do. I wouldn't second-guess anything you do, brother, unless you bet on the Mariners winning after I tried to tell you that they weren't. That's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And as a good Christian, you won't see or hear Sean and Sandy lay blame on anyone. Always let people know it's just my opinion. Well, good for you. Decisions that are made that determine outcomes of games. I'm not to criticize decisions that are made that determine outcomes of games. I'm not a baseball manager, but I've been watching sports for 40 years. And I'm well capable of forming an opinion off of what I see take place. And we can absolutely question coaches sometimes. I've never been an NBA coach, but I know for sure I can make better decisions than Mo Cheeks out there. Sean Payton has forgotten more about football than I'll ever know, but I still question some of his decision-making. Like, maybe you should mix it up and let somebody else call the plays, buddy, because your offense stinks right now. And Dan Wilson, I'm happy for him. Nice guy. But I'm sorry, he shouldn't have had Bizzardo in there pitching to Springer. It's crazy. I know a lot of people have never been involved in politics, but they sure got a lot of opinions on politics and will criticize. That's what we can do. You watch, you observe, you have a well-reasoned take. I would not have gone with Bizzardo in that moment, and I probably would have walked Springer. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Did we get a winner, Shacker?
Sure did. From Portland.
Oh, from Portland. What's the name?
I close that down. We got Justin from Portland.
All right, Justin. Good work, my friend. He'll be at the game on Friday with the Warriors. Tip-off tomorrow with the Timberwolves at 7. And Blazers game day with Chris Burkhardt at 5. And right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right. In response to Sean and Sandy, I've gotten numerous messages like this one from Larry Mathis. That was the pivotal point of the game. Munoz should have been in. Yeah, exactly. That was the inning. That was the moment. The reason why you bring in Munoz is so you get out of that inning and save yourself and win the game. That's why you do it. You go to your best option, which is Munoz, who's been unhittable, to get out of that mess and not give up a 3-run jack, which they did. But then again, we don't want to question people who are in power. Why would we do something like that? It's above my pay grade, so who am I to question Dan Wilson? It's so dumb. I hate that kind of stuff. It's like, dude, we've been watching sports for, I don't know, decades. A lot of you longer than I have. You're well positioned to have an opinion on something or to question decisions that may or may not have been made. It's okay to do that. Yeah, he should have been in. Munoz should have been in there pitching to save the Mariners' day. But he wasn't, and they lost the game. Who knows? Maybe Munoz gives up a bomb. But I would much rather go with my best option, Munoz, than not. Let's see. I can go with my best option or my fourth best reliever. But then again, it's above my pay grade, so who am I to question such a decision?
I hate that expression. It's people saying, "Don't bother me," so they just say that above my pay grade.
That's above my pay grade. I'm not gonna criticize anyone. Why should I do that? I mean, I could share my opinion, but that's above my pay grade. Yeah. Those losses sting. And what's horrible about that type of loss is you're going to remember it now forever, and it's going to gnaw at you until the beginning of next year. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. I would expect the Dodgers to win the World Series. They should, with their starting pitching. Don't question Dave Roberts now. He's going to do some weird things with the pitching rotation. He'll pull starters out that are on fire, mowing through the lineup because he's got his little cue card on what to do. But again, it's above your pay grade, Dodger fans, so you should not question Manager Roberts on any decision he makes with the bullpen. I mean, who are you to do that? How can you question the decisions that Manager Roberts might make with the Dodgers? You don't coach baseball. You haven't been in that position. It's high leverage. It's above your pay grade. How dare you question a decision made by the manager? That's comedy. I mean, should Jet fans question what Aaron Glenn's doing right now? It's above their pay grade. Their team is 0-7, and they look like a complete disaster, like usual, but don't question him. I mean, he's working hard, and besides, he knows football. Who are you to question Aaron Glenn, even though his team hasn't won a freaking game this year? What about Mike McDaniel vaping on the sideline? Should you question him? He seems like he's in control. His team's only won one game, but, man, he's a smart guy. That stuff really irritates me, drives me insane. All right, so tomorrow I'll be over at Motor Center at 3 with the Rip City Drive. Chris Burkhart will be on site live with the Blazers game day for the first game at 5. I'll have the network pregame show at 6 and then tip-off at 7. Also, I just confirmed with Michael Holton that he's going to join me in studio for Holton on Hoops coming up on Thursday. And then tomorrow, Alex Brink was supposed to join me today, but he had to move it to tomorrow because he got jammed up. So Alex Brink will join me tomorrow. Also, Sean Heiken will join me live from Motor Center at 4:20. Alex Brink at 3:20. And what else have we got? I think that pretty much covers it. And looking forward to this weekend, man. It's so great right now. We got the World Series coming up. We have college football in full swing, the NFL. The Broncos taking on the Cowboys and have a chance to go to 6-2. What's great about Denver right now, what I'm so excited about is that they're 5-2, and they haven't even played anywhere close to their best football. So they've got an opportunity to get better on offense, tighten some things up on defense, and you got Dak coming to town. And I got to give props to Dak. He's playing like an MVP. I like Dak. He's a cool dude. I think he's a good leader, good player, having a great year. And I like Coach Schottenheimer. And his team's playing good, so that's going to be a fun game. And we'll see how it shakes out. A couple of good games on tap for college football this weekend. Like Oklahoma Ole Miss is going to be nice. And we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. Michigan and Michigan State, maybe. I asked Pete Futek that. He said he doesn't think Michigan State's at the point now where they want to get rid of Jonathan Smith, but if they were to get worked by Michigan, that those conversations could begin. We'll also have more tickets for Adam Sandler. Are you going to go to the Sandler show, Shacker?
Oh, I want to go really bad. I have no plans.
Well, you should go. You got to support your people, my friend.
I tried calling in, but everyone beat me to it. Could I call in? I don't think I'm allowed to do that.
No, probably not. 503-248-0620. Here's another message from the 503. Hi, Shaq. Can you call me after the program is over? I need to ask you something. That sounds a lot like we need to talk.
Are you in trouble?
I don't know. Maybe. Chris Cohn chimes in. We should have never been there with the crappy bats in Toronto. However, I agree with you. Yeah, it sucks, man. Sean has chimed back in. Dan Wilson knows his team better than anyone, and he wants to win more than anyone. He's played in more games for the Mariners than anyone on the team, and Dan Wilson knows more about baseball than any of the people talking about his decisions. I say things are above my pay grade because those things actually are, and I have more respect for people who make them. To undermine them and insult their intelligence, unlike some people. I'm not insulting Dan Wilson's intelligence. I don't doubt that he's a smart guy. I like him. He's a good dude. But I disagree with his decision to put Bizzardo in the game at that point. And I'm not real comfortable with the decision to pitch to Springer at that situation either. So I'm not undermining Dan Wilson. I just question the decision. I think it was a bad decision. There you go. Bad decision. I think Sean Payton should consider going with less personnel groupings to try and simplify his offense in Denver. He knows more about football than I do, but I would do that. And keep your best players on the field for longer stretches to allow Bo Nix to get into a rhythm. So you don't have to score 33 points in the fourth quarter to win a ball game. All right, big thanks to all of our guests today. Pete Futek, Colin Amos, and Casey Holdaw. Big thanks to Michael Shacker for engineering the program and to all of you. More Sandler tickets tomorrow. I'll be live from Moda Center at 3. You guys have a great night.